This is Real Talk, the Customer Insights Show with Jenn Vogel. Join Jenn and her guests for this live discussion around topics that will help you understand your customers better. Also available on podcast channels. This live stream is presented to you by Vox Pop Me, the leader in video research. Here's today's live conversation.
Hello, insights professionals, marketers, and everyone who wants to understand their customers better. Thank you for joining me for a bonus episode of Real Talk, the Customer Insights Show. We are live on several channels, and the podcast version will be available on podcast channels shortly. Today, we are pleased to announce a new product feature based on feedback, of course, from many of you, our customers. We listen to you and know that getting negative feedback is just too difficult to take. It hurts, it doesn't feel good, and it can bring down your entire day. I mean, you know how it is. 10 seconds of negativity can ruin the rest of the day. So for those of you who only want to hear the positive things, or sometimes nothing at all, when customers only share negative sentiments, this feature is for you. You can still get customer insights of all kinds on the Vox Pop Me platform, but when the constructive feedback gets too much, our platform finds positives in even the negative to report to your team. Today, I'm joined by our CEO, Dave Carruthers, to discuss this innovative step in MR Tech. Welcome, Dave.
Hey, Jenn. It's my pleasure to be back on the show with you. The show seems to get better every single week. I'm excited to share a little bit more behind the new product release. It truly is groundbreaking, and really, I think one of the first of its kind. I know that gets said quite often. We really followed a design thinking process to come up with the new way of analyzing and presenting our video survey feedback. Of course, video feedback is great to show your team, stakeholders, and executives 2-minute video summaries. We call them reels. And it's much easier to comprehend than your typical kind of 94-page PowerPoint deck. Mm-hmm. But the team continuously makes updates and improves our product. We practice what we preach, and we listen to our customers. So one really popular update was global search, which Brenna Ivy previously discussed on Real Talk.
The great search functionality that Vox Pop Me offered, and since we started, my favorite product development has been the global search tool. So you can search across projects even. And we had a pretty toothpaste and Band-Aid workaround to make it work prior. But with the global search, you can search for all the projects, all 4 years worth of interviews to hear what do people think of when they think of home, or what does family, how does that connect with home? And so you can just search a word and come up with all of the hits from any interview that anyone's done, and be able to start digging into some of the texture behind trends that we're seeing in other data sources.
Yeah, global search was such a really exciting release, and we're hoping that this feature will become just as popular. We also know that friendliness toward our customers is important, something Shep Hyken previously discussed on the show.
One of my clients is Ace Hardware, and a book that featured Ace throughout the book as a case study. And one of the chapters talked about changing the terminology. And there was one particular Ace Hardware store that referred to their customers as neighbors. And every time a customer walked through the door, they would go, "Hey, neighbor." Now, you can't say, "Hey, customer." That doesn't sound right. But neighbor is such a different experience.
And that should be a two-way street, which is why we rolled out this feature.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So let's walk through the new release.
So as you can see, the positivity feature just brings everything to life. You can see you can still get all the feedback provided, but if you're in that pick-me-up mood, you just have to activate that positivity. Just switch our positivity generator on, and you're good to go. As you can see, it turned a lot of the constructive feedback to, well, nothing. Just got rid of it, and that positive vibe was there.
That happens, and our positivity generator is now live in the U.S. and in Europe, and it will roll out in Australia and Asia by the end of the month.
So live from Salt Lake City
and Connecticut. It's the
April Fool's Day edition
of Real Talk.
I've always wanted to do that Saturday Night Live thing, and we didn't nail the time in there. But hey,
I know we should have practiced
positive about it. Yeah, exactly.
Turn on the positivity filter on that one. So we're not rolling out this feature.
Of course not. All kinds of feedback is important. We know that. Our customers know that. And if you can find that constructive feedback, the positivity, the negativity, it really is about being able to synthesize all of that video feedback, that rich video feedback that comes in, to tell those real stories, to tell that kind of customer truth, to really bring that voice of the customer to life.
Absolutely. Well, Dave, thanks for playing along for April Fool's Day. This was fun. But let's talk about how video surveys work and what kind of sentiment we see from video feedback, and how should brands use it. So maybe we can just kick off and line how video surveys work.
Yeah, for sure. So the way we think about videos is videos 5 to 6 minutes of really rich, great content from an individual customer. We built in response typically between, so they're really kind of going deep. And what we've found with that, kind of just by switching to that medium of video, that customer, that respondent naturally becomes a storyteller. They just give you so much more context than if you were kind of just asking them to type that answer out. So typically the majority of our video surveys, we're going out to between 50 and 75 people. We're asking between 3 and 5 questions, and really allowing people to go through. A lot of clients I'm seeing, particularly with what's going on in the world right now, moving away from your traditional in-person focus groups, right? We all know with a focus group, there's a couple of things at play. You've got that one person that dominates the conversation. You've got groupthink. You've got moderator bias. Well, with these asynchronous video surveys, we're able to eliminate all of that. And your typical focus group, your average participant speaks for about 5 to 6 minutes. So we're able to get all of that same amount of content in just a fraction of the time. Typically, these video surveys are being rolled out about 25 times quicker than a traditional in-person engagement. And for about 30%, hopefully a little bit, Jen, on how those video surveys work.
Yeah. And one of the things that's been really exciting to see and how our customers are using it is that, this is sort of a reimagining of qual, right? Like you think about those focus groups and the IDIs, and those are large scale engagements that were kind of like put into the research process at very specific points when they could dedicate that kind of resource. And what's really exciting is seeing some of our customers, like I think Megan from Pepsi was talking about doing this, and Michelle from Mars talks about this. Like it's an opportunity to incorporate qual all the time and just get that more general understanding, as opposed to, answering specific questions. This was something Megan specifically was talking about, like, not just knowing what flavors people like or what their shopping behaviors are, but just having this sort of always on listening to understand what's going on in people's lives, what's important to them, how are things changing, and how that impacts the rest of your research program.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the key thing, isn't it? Like there's been so much that's happened to kind of democratize research, to make research more accessible, to make research something that can be done, in a more iterative kind of agile way, but a lot of that innovation and focus was all based upon more quantitative survey-based methodologies. And really what we've tried to do with VoxBotMe and video surveys in particular is really introduce that qualitative nature and qualitative research across kind of all stages of that innovation life cycle. So yeah, I mean, I think there's just there's so many more people now being able to add qual into the mix far more frequently. As you say, it was something that was always very, very planned. It was only for particular problems. It was only at particular stages in the development cycle. If we had the budget, and it's we're just changing that. It's great to see.
It's exciting for sure. And so how is the video feedback really helpful in, getting actually actionable insights?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple of things at play here. First, people typically, they make decisions based on rationality and kind of emotional connection. So, when we're presented with a load of data, we see all of the rational reasons why, red is better than green or whatever it might be. But none of that really connects. And as humans, we want to make a connection with the data. So what we're seeing is that, firstly, people are connecting more with the data. It's resonating with them. Hearing this directly from the customer, seeing those show reels of those key insights and the key kind of moments from that research is really kind of getting a lot more buy-in from broader stakeholders across the business, because they see and hear it from the customer. It's not just kind of the researcher's perspective on it. It's that raw feedback. So I think part of that helps with driving the actionability. The other thing I would say is just getting, when people open up and tell you so much more, you just discover so much more about what it is that they actually feel, how they truly feel about it. You get a lot more context and things like that. So with that comes kind of the ability to craft that story, right? We talk about storytelling all the time, and how it becomes more memorable and people kind of latch onto stories. And again, like that, being able to weave video into that kind of into that deliverable, and create a true story with a journey and with data and a hero, and you seeing all these people, truly gets people to engage. And then I think finally, I think behaviors are changing. How people want to consume data. We talk about snackable content all the time here at VoxBotMe. How can we get something across in 90 seconds or 2 minutes? People are busy. Their inboxes are full. They're on back-to-back Zoom calls. They have data paralysis. They see so many dashboards. How can you really cut to the core and get people to lean forward in their chair, pay attention to these insights, and actually leave a meeting wanting to go away and identify and fix what has been raised there. So I think for all those reasons, video is just a key tool in any researcher's toolkit.
Yeah, I think the empathy piece that you touched on in the beginning is so crucial, and really connecting with the people that you as a business care about the most. And then what you were saying about, really getting people to lean forward. Like, we hear that so often, that the first time they share a show reel with stakeholders, everyone is sort of blown away. And it really does get people to lean in and, build those connections and really absorb and do something about the feedback that they're getting.
100%.
And so obviously we had a little fun talking about sentiment earlier. But in terms of the platform in reality, in the real world, on not April Fool's Day, how does the platform analyze for sentiment, and what's the value of that element within VoxBotMe?
Yeah, I mean, sentiment's a huge part of it. Obviously, the kind of typical breakdown on sentiment is kind of positive, negative, neutral. The way VoxBotMe's Theme Explorer works is it already identifies the themes and topics that people are talking about in these videos. So, unlike other solutions, maybe where you have to kind of predefine what you're looking for and what means what, none of this kind of needs to be done within VoxBotMe. Those themes. Oh, my dog's just jumped into the live stream. There he is. None of the themes need to be predefined. So when you're looking through the videos, you can quickly see overlaid onto the transcript key sentence level sentiment. And what that does is gives you a really easy visual representation as you're kind of scanning through those transcripts. You're looking out for particular things that kind of you're kind of interested, threads that you want to pull in the data, and you're able to do that. But one of the powerful things about VoxPopMe is, when you just typically look at a sentence level, you get very generic. You get a lot of mixed, you get a lot of neutral, because, you imagine a sentence, some feedback about Burger King's menu, for example. Well, I think the Whopper is a fantastic burger, but the shakes, they're absolutely terrible when compared to McDonald's. Okay, so there's a lot in that. But with our Theme Explorer, we're actually able to kind of isolate and identify those objects and look at sentiment there. So in that instance, when it was talking about the Whopper, when it was talking about Burger King, it would be talking in a very positive light about those three objects. But when it came to milkshakes, it would also it would be identifying that part of the actual sentence, that object, was being talked about negatively. And with our Theme Explorer, you're able to go in and find that. So if I want to go into a project and I want to say, hey, I want to find people in this demographic talking negatively about these three themes, and guess what? Like, I'd love the system to build me a 3-minute reel that just had this content in without me having to go and do that. We now do that with our auto summarization features. So we've really taken a lot of the pain out of that. And obviously sentiment and themes is absolutely at the heart of analyzing video content.
Yeah. And I think what you're saying about like the kind of phrase-based sentiment being the basis of that, it gives you that flexibility to narrow into a single moment of a single respondent and then branch out from there. Look at the theme-based sentiment, look at the entire project, all of the feedback all at once, and all of the filtering capabilities just becomes really powerful.
Yeah. And another thing there is, like, when you identify that trend or that thing, the VoxPopMe platform will there's other people who are saying similar things. So again, you haven't got to go and look for that. It's going to be like people saying a similar thing. Which ones you want to use to help you tell the story?
Yeah, 100%. And it helps you to identify those trends, as you say, because if one person's saying something, that's interesting. But if 20 people are saying the same thing, like, now I'm really paying attention because there's a trend that maybe I wasn't aware of before.
Absolutely. So, with qualitative, we can still quantify qualitative data. We can still tell you, actually this theme is, 4 times more important than this other theme. Now, that doesn't mean that's the answer. So one of the things we've done with Theme Explorer is not only but also have a way to look at things based on most important, which is taking all of the data that we've captured, looking at anomalies in there, and really looking at kind of these 2 and 3 word phrases that are kind of going that level deeper than just kind of high level 1-word singular phrases.
Yeah, the advancements in technology are just allowing the industry to, again, like, reimagine qual, like possibilities that just weren't there not that long ago.
100%.
So now we can, talk, like, why are all kinds of feedback important, and how should companies use those different types of feedback, and especially the less than positive?
Yeah, I think we've got to when we're collecting feedback, we know it's going to be mixed, and I think if you're asking people about anything and you're getting a resounding everything is positive, nothing can be better, you've probably not got the right people in the room. But what I would say is, sometimes it's very difficult to deliver that negative feedback directly, right? It's very difficult to tell someone their baby's ugly. So with video feedback, you're actually able to let the customers do that for you, and it's coming directly from them. This isn't your interpretation. You're not kind of criticizing someone else's pet project. So that, being able to actually kind of show that, there was less than positive feedback. This isn't my interpretation of it. This isn't any angle. This is genuine from the customer's mouth. This is what they had to say. So I think it really kind of almost disintermediates the researcher from the feedback. The feedback is now definitely coming from the customer. It's not perceived as, oh, well, this is what Dave's saying because Dave doesn't really like this project anyway. So again, it just really kind of allows you to deliver that message. And I think there's lots of different ways you can use positive feedback. negative feedback. On the negative side of things, obviously, understanding how you can make improvements to your product, your experience is absolutely important. We see so many clients now using video feedback as part of their customer experience programs, part of their employee experience programs, because they know the deeper they can get as an understanding of what their customers need or their employees need, the better environment they can create. And that, ultimately, as they create that better environment, that better experience, their NPS goes up, their profitability goes up as a company, their customer loyalty metrics go up. So again, negative feedback is absolutely critical to fix some of those blind spots that you just may not know would have existed, and that's where we've seen video really play a role. It's like, what are those blind spots that aren't coming out in the survey? Alaska's a great example. At the end of their customer experience survey, they say, is there anything else you'd like to tell us that you've not kind of had the opportunity to? I can't tell you the amount of things that came up because they just weren't asking those questions in the survey. And customers took that opportunity. They seized it with both hands and just wanted to, talk about these things. And so many of the changes they've been able to make over the past 12, 18 months have come from this kind of very open-ended, what didn't you get a chance to tell us question. So I think that's an incredible example of kind of how feedback can be used both positive and negative.
Yeah, for sure. And I think those, as you mentioned in the customer experience sort of application for video, our expectations for what a good positive customer experience is going to be is so high that it's so important for companies to identify those friction points and fix them, because it's not having a good experience design isn't really a differentiator. It's table stakes. You have to have positive experiences because that's what we're expecting to have, and understanding why are people leaving, or why are people unhappy, or what is a point in the journey that is really tripping people up is so important to fix, and kind of identify that. I love. Sorry, go ahead. You're going to say.
Oh no,
something.
you're good. You're good.
I also was thinking I remember hearing this earlier on when I first joined Vox Pop Me. I think it was Clorox was playing videos in their offices when we used to work in offices. And they would play show reels in the offices, and people would feel well, you can't play those videos. They're saying, that person said something negative about our product or whatever. And, it's yeah, we need to know that. We need to fix those problems and create better products. And, that's just, I love that application of the video and really, sharing it so broadly within the organization, especially the negative, as an opportunity to make change.
Yeah, absolutely. When we see the same with Dick's Sporting Goods, right? They have video feedback captured on their retail survey, their in-store kind of post-transaction survey through our partnership with SMG. And those videos are then being played on screens in their kind of breakout rooms in the back office to really keep their associates completely engaged with what the customer's saying and seeing the positive, and then seeing opportunities to where they could be of better service, be more attentive, whatever that might be. So yeah, I think those who choose to ignore feedback and kind of bury their head in the sand are kind of destined to fail. You've got to be open, you've got to be receptive to it, and you've got to see it as an opportunity to learn and get better.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you again, Dave, for joining me early this morning on April Fool's Day. It's been a lot of fun. I think we all agree that positive, negative, and neutral feedback is all important. So thanks for coming on and chatting about that with me today.
Awesome. See you next time.
See you next time. Have a great April